So today I want to talk about how to organically grow your social media following. You don't want to miss this. Stay tuned.
You are listening to The Leadersmith, Darren Gerdes.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about an article in Entrepreneur Magazine just came out recently. It said how I grew my Twitter following in 30 days with just 30 minutes of use each day. It's by Jeremy Moser. Now, the article, it's not just about Twitter. It could be about Twitter, Facebook, whatever. I'm admittedly terrible on Twitter. I just don't like the medium. I just don't like using Twitter. But that's not the issue. The issue is the principle. Okay, but I do very much what he talks about here on Facebook with a particular group. I created a Facebook /groups /learn leadership group that I host essentially, and we just talk about stuff related to leadership. Okay, so let's get into the article. He says he had a Twitter account since 2017, and he had a grand total of 50 followers. Well, because he hadn't done anything. Now, I have 10,000 followers on Twitter, but they're almost all inactive. I don't really, I mean, they built over time. This is over a decade, and I just haven't really warmed to them. People follow because of, they're trying to get you to follow back or whatever else. I just don't do it. If I put something out, I get crickets on Twitter because I haven't really grown it or matured or spent time really trying to make Twitter work. Facebook is different. I've used that. And so I can see the difference between these two approaches, between what he says to do and not do. Okay, back to the article. He says when he returned to Twitter, nobody was engaging with him. Okay, within 30 days, he grew his following to 2,500 plus followers, gaining 2.5 million impressions with just 30 minutes of usage each day. Okay, so that's not superstar, but that's pretty good. And if you're starting from nothing, this is what you want to do. Okay, so he gives a few, like 3 key tips. The first is community focus. And he said that what your goal is, it's to grow an active, engaged, real following. People that are interested in what you have to talk about, grow them, focus on them, talk to them. Would you rather have 10,000 followers but still struggle to drive action, or 500 followers on the edge of their seats awaiting your content? I just told you I had 10,000 followers on Twitter, but they don't really do anything. Most of them are dormant. I don't know how many of those are bots. That's useless. It doesn't matter how many are there if they're not engaged with you. Okay? I'd far rather have the 500 followers on the edge of their seats. Okay, he talked about having a community focus, and he's talking about it's not just tweeting and expecting engagement. Okay, it's not that they're hanging on your every word. And if you think that that's how Twitter's supposed to work, you're going to be frustrated because you're going to be thinking like, well, why aren't people liking my content? Or you're waiting for retweets to come in or whatever. No, think about the community and think about engaging the community. He says, not just tweeting and expecting engaging to come in, tweet less, engage more. That is, it's not just about what you put out, it's about how you engage those people around you. And if you do that, you're going to see different results. He said this, quote, I set a strict schedule to tweet 2 times per day of my best, most insightful work. He would give tips about how he started his business and other snippets from some of his best work. Now, you do need to tweet, you do need to be involved, you do need to give good content, and you need to do that regularly. But that's a very small portion of what you're trying to do. He said, just be yourself, share your stories. Once you have valuable content on your profile, start engaging with your community. So, first things first, if you're starting from nothing, start putting out valuable content, things that people will want to know about whatever it is that you have to talk about. He said, do you want to tweet about startups? Don't follow startup companies. Follow the employees of those companies, then look at who's replying, liking, and retweeting the content. Okay, that's very important. Sometimes we want to get like, oh, if I just found somebody with 1 billion Twitter followers, I would be set. No, it's not going to be 1 billion Twitter followers that's going to make you. You're going to find somebody that has 50 or somebody who has 1,000 or somebody has, right? Just normal people just like you. But if you engage with those normal people, if you're providing extra value to their life, they're going to engage with you. Okay, so don't deal with the company or the Kardashian or whatever. Deal with real people who are interested in what you have to talk about. And then look at who's replying and liking and retweeting. Okay, he says engage and build real relationships. Now, this is the core of everything he's talking about. Engage. That is, one, you want to have a conversation. This is not a monologue. This is a dialogue. So when you are out there in social media, Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, have a conversation. It should be two-way. If it's not two-way, it fell flat. If you say something and nothing happened, exactly, that dead air that you just heard, that's what you don't want to have. You want to have it back and forth. And then second, build real relationships. It's very easy to objectify or think of other people on Twitter as less than human. Now, I understand that there are bots and that kind of thing. Let's set those aside. But the other person that you're trying to have a conversation with is another person with hopes and dreams and aspirations just like you. Have a conversation with another person. It doesn't matter that it's digitally mediated. That's not the point. It's another person. That other person should be respected. Somebody you should think about as, wow, how can I add value to their lives? When you start doing that, when you start building real relationships, finding out what makes them tick and trying to help them become more, everything changes with social media. So engage and then build real relationships. And he says when they see that you have valuable insights, when you actually add value to their lives, they'll follow you. So that's how it works. And sometimes we just want to, trick the system or something in order to get it. But even if you could trick the system and somehow, add more buy followers or something along those lines, those people are not going to be engaged. You'll only have engagement with people with whom you one respect enough to then add real value and engagement to their lives. So have that relationship. Okay. Then he also talks about this: utilize direct messages. The DM functionality is something where you can engage with them, find out what their hopes and dreams and aspirations are, and actually get to know them. But don't be spammy. When I add a Facebook or LinkedIn friend and people pop up and say, "Hey, how are you?" I'm always dreading it because usually it turns into, "Would you buy Bitcoin?" or "I'm a Nigerian prince," or some variation in between. I'm a forex trader, and here you can buy this course for whatever. Really, if you're forex trading and you're doing well, you don't need to be popping up onto my Facebook or LinkedIn in order to try to sell me on that. Okay. So don't spam or give sales pitches. Don't do that. Just get out there and get to know people. Welcome them. Ask them to talk about themselves. Get to know them. Understand where they're coming from and how you can add value to their lives. But the point is, you're trying to create a real, legitimate friendship with these people, not just using them for your own ends or for your own numbers of how many followers you have. And remember, tweeting is just, he says, quote, tweeting is just a small portion of your strategy. So it's not what you just send out, it's what kind of conversation you have with other people. And then finally, he says, refine your content approach. He says that, quote, the content that you share on Twitter is a direct indicator to potential followers of how much value you can deliver for them. So think about what your messages are. If it's all over the map, if it's about your dinner and then it's about a political complaint and then it's about some real content and then it's about a complaint about your mother-in-law, it's going to be a problem because we don't know exactly where you are or what your message actually is. So focus on your content. Okay? He says the best way to elicit more retweets and engagement are things like have a real unique take on some subject, talk about relevant news, mention users. Now, I found this to be true too. I would, for a long time I did Twitter Tuesday on the podcast. And so I would look through Twitter for quotes about leadership and then I would talk about it. And then I would mention those people on Twitter. They loved it. Why wouldn't you love that, right? Now, again, I use Twitter poorly, but they loved it. I found that worked. So mention users, share their success, share their stories, describe your own failures, your lessons learned, but be human and get to know people. Okay, so that's really all you need to do. Think about engaging. Don't think about just sending your tweets. Engage, make friends, share, engage, do all those things, and you'll be successful. As I was going through this, reading this article, I was thinking, it's really interesting. It's not that it's fake. It's not that you're dealing with numbers. You're dealing with people. And when you recognize that, everything changes. So it reminded me of this Albert Einstein line. Einstein said, and this is a quotation for contemplation for today: I speak to everyone in the same way, whether he's the garbage man or the president of the university. And I would add to that, and whether I know him through a digital means like Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn. He's a person and he deserves respect. And if you remember that, you're going to go far. Hey, thanks for your time today, and I hope that helps you become the kind of leader that you would want to follow.